needs to hear what you guys say. So if you guys are going to talk, be sure to unmute. Okay? And Corey, you are going to start out the meeting. Do you have the agenda?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Whenever you're ready, rock.
Okay. Bear with me. This is my first time running the meeting.
That's fine.
Okay.
So you start off with, I call the meeting to order.
Yeah. I call this meeting to order at 6:30 on January 7th, 2021. Can I get a roll call?
No, you sure can. Okay, we have Commissioner Branch. Chairperson Branch. Correction, correct. Chairperson Branch.
Present.
Vice Chair Lee.
Present.
Commissioner Schaefer. Absent. Commissioner Rosales. Yeah, Commissioner Rosales.
Present.
Commissioner Ganis.
Present.
Commissioner Crosby. No. Okay, absent. Commissioner Al. That's Melina. She's here. I saw her. Okay, Commissioner, I think she's here.
I believe the audio wasn't working just now.
Melina, I can't hear you. Oh, there you are. I know I saw you there earlier. Okay, thanks. Okay, Commissioner Manzano.
Present.
Commissioner Apaka.
Present.
Hey, Marilyn, you're sideways. Oh, you're upside down. Okay. Sorry, Commissioner Searing.
Present.
Okay, Adult Commissioner Stover.
Present.
And Adult Commissioner Gannett.
Here.
All right. Corey, back to you.
All right. Do I need to do like a motion second for the salute to the flag?
No, you don't. You can just ask one of the commissioners if they will and they can accept or not.
Commissioner Ganis, would you like to do the salute to the flag?
I know how to do that. Wait, am I?
Yeah, so you say, please rise, everyone. Please.
Okay,
rise.
sure. Yeah, I accept.
We'll do it like we normally do. Whoops. And then you go say left hand over your, right hand over your heart. Okay. So go ahead and do that, okay?
All right, everyone's already up. Please rise, everyone.
I know it's silly, but we gotta go through motion.
Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, Corey, go ahead and run through the agenda for us.
Okay, presentation / announcements.
There's nothing there. You just say seeing none.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Seeing none, moving on. Approve order of agenda. Do I need a motion for that?
Yes, you do.
Can I get a motion to approve the order of the agenda?
Motion.
Motion by Vice Chair Lee.
We need a second.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ganis. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, great.
Blue folder items, additional backup materials. Blue folder items are additional backup material to administrative reports and/or public comments received after the printing and distribution of the agenda packet for receive and file. And we have a blue folder item.
Do we?
It's
Well,
like
I don't
one
believe you.
blue folder items.
Yeah, there's no items in the blue folder. Yeah, there's no blue folder items.
Seeing none, moving on. Consent calendar. Business items except those formally noticed for public hearing or discussed are assigned to the consent calendar. The commission members may request that any consent calendar items be removed, discussed, and acted upon separately. Items removed from the below. Those items remaining on the consent calendar will be approved in one motion following oral communications. Affidavit of posting. Do we have an affidavit of posting?
Yeah, we do. But that's you can approve G1 and G2 in one motion.
Okay, motion to approve items in the consent calendar.
Motion.
Motion by Vice Chair Lee. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rosales. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Excluded consent calendar items. Seeing none, moving on. Public participation on non-agenda items. This section is intended to provide members of the public with the opportunity to comment on any subject that does not appear on this agenda for action. This section is limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes to address the commission. Each speaker will be permitted to speak only once. Written requests, if any, will be considered first under this section. Do we have any public participation?
We don't have any public participation right now. So
okay, seeing none, moving on. Items continued from previous agendas. Seeing none, moving on. Items for discussion prior to action. We have a discussion with School Board President Brad Serkin. School Board President Serkin is in attendance to answer commission questions regarding the status and reopening plans for Redondo Beach schools.
all right, I'd like to welcome School Board President Brad Serkin. Is he here with us? I believe he was. Oh, there he is. Could you?
Yeah, there we are. Sorry.
Okay, all right.
I forgot to mute myself again. Good evening.
I'd like to welcome you to our Youth Commission meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, Corey will start off. She had some questions, I believe, but if any of you guys have questions for him, this is your time to ask. Tyler, you had some questions. Corey, you had some questions. So, Corey, why don't you go ahead and lead the meeting and ask if anyone has questions. You can go like one by one or whoever raises their hand or however you want to do it, Corey.
Okay. Well, first of all, I would just like to welcome School Board President Serkin here. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come speak with us and answer some of our questions. To start off, I did have a couple of questions. For one, I was wondering what extra resources are being offered to Redondo Beach students to help aid in their virtual learning?
So, I mean, we have, you talking high school or just in general?
Yeah, in high school.
Okay, so I mean, right now, similar to what we have always had as far as departmental teachers, what have you, outside of your normal tutorials and individual sessions, we do have teachers that are on assignment each day that are available for specific subjects, so that if you have, need help or if you need help specifically with an item there, it's a rotating group of teachers. So whether it be science, whether it be math, or what have you. What I have found for most of the teachers is, although their tutorial times are somewhat structured between 1 and 3, give or take, a lot of teachers have made themselves available as well. As far as, challenges, are you having issues with teachers not being available during tutorial or not being able to get a hold of your teachers during off class time, if you will?
This question wasn't really about any specific issue.
Okay.
It was kind of more just a general getting to know what is being offered.
Got it. Yeah. Now I found for particularly at the high school that the teachers are obviously available in breakout rooms during class, but they are, during tutorial, they are available. We've designated pretty much after the lunch break that they are available all afternoon until the end of school day, if you will, to be online to answer questions.
Thank you. And just one question, which I don't know to what extent you'll be able to answer this, but what is being offered to students in the way of like counseling and mental health in order to help them kind of maintain solid mental health during this pandemic?
So, I mean, obviously your counselor is at your not at your beck and call, but is available to talk to you. But we have both resources, additional counseling services, both private counselors as well as we have counselors available through the Beach Cities Health District. A simple call to your teacher, to any of the counselors at the district, to Principal Branch or what have you. If anybody's struggling, anybody needs help or what have you, all those services are available, both during school hours as well as after school hours. And so, we partner with Taurus Memorial. We have certain services depending on what the kind of care or things that you need. But we do have 24-hour support services as needed.
Thank you. So I will now kind of pass on the speaking role to anybody else who has questions. Vice Chair Lee, would you like to ask some questions?
Yes, with the chair's permission, I have a series of questions that I would like to ask, and I'd like to ask them back to back, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's all right.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Serkin. Do the state guidelines or county guidelines take precedence with regard to reopening schools?
Basically, state will supersede the county, and the county will supersede us. But as been during this last period of time, LA County's actually been a lot stricter on us than the state has been. So the state in some aspects is telling us to go back to school, and then the county, up until November, when they gave us the opportunity to apply for a waiver to open TK through 2. As of today, as of this afternoon, even though we have a waiver, they are conceptually recommending that we keep TK through 2 shut for another 3 weeks. It's currently only a recommendation or an idea, not mandated. We are scheduled to reopen January 19th, which will be the day after Martin Luther King's day off, for TK through 2. And looking holistically and out there, and I say this, this is the first time I honestly feel in this last 9 months that you as high schoolers might see the campus this year. And I say might, and it's based on the fact, it partly has to do with the fact of what's going to happen with the vaccines. So if the vaccines itself get rolled out in some timely fashion, they've been a little slow here in California, but if they get out in some timely fashion, in my opinion, there's no excuse at that point. We shouldn't be able to return to school, even if you as students have not received it yet. Now, some of you won't be able to receive it based on age, but ultimately, once the staff has been immunized, at that point, in my opinion, you should be able to return to class. And we will start with seniors, not to cut it off, but the goal is to try to start with seniors first. If we are going to return, to allow seniors at least, some high school experience to close out the year if possible.
Okay, so would it be fair to say that whichever one, the state or the county, has more strict guidelines, we have to follow the more strict guidelines?
Yes, unfortunately, yes.
Okay. All right. So if and when Redondo is allowed to return to in-person learning as part of the hybrid model, are preparations made to ensure that this transition is as quick as possible?
It has, as most of you may or may not be aware, our campuses, even though we've been technically closed, have been open since July. So our CDCs have been on our campuses, special ed is on our campuses, and different. As we continue to roll out and bring things forward, the goal, with us starting, let's say, TK through 2 is a good starting point, but we already have plans mapped out. And I'll say, for example, at the high school level, when you come back, you'll have certain gates that you'll enter in specifically based on either letter as far as or where you are starting for class. So that way, it's an expeditious manner to come in. Right now, if you go to any district facility, you have to answer a handful of questions or use the Beach City Health District app, and they take your temperature. All the facilities are cleaned daily, and if we return to campuses, restrooms will be cleaned after every hour, but basically after every major break as well. The classrooms, if you go to second, fourth, and sixth, for example, in between second and fourth, your teacher will be cleaning all the desks with a special chemical itself. to take care of that. Again, and say between 4th and 6th. And as you've noticed with the hybrid schedule, there's no lunch hour, and the lunch hour is designed specifically so that we don't encourage as much socialization. Obviously, there is some happening off campuses, but we wouldn't want to tell you to sit at lunch and all 1,500 of you have to sit in multiple places, or 3,000 if we have everybody on campus.
All right. So you brought something up there about transition between periods. So will students actually in like the high school and middle school level, will they actually be moving between classes, or will the teachers be moving?
At this point, you will be moving classes just logistically due to the fact that you have, let's say if you're in media arts, you have access to the computers, whereas if you're in science, you have the labs. So the students will be moving from class to class. There'll be a sufficient break between there for the room to be sanitized, if you will, all the desks everywhere, handles and what have you in preparation for you to come in to it. And, to the best of our abilities, we're trying not to, more so at the elementary. So elementary is an example, all the desks are there, but, the kids that use the desk on Monday, Wednesday the other kids will have their own desk. Otherwise, if there's opportunities in classrooms to do so, we will. But, at high school, we just don't have enough room for all that. So,
will the passing periods be staggered? And if so, is it going to alter when school ends at all?
The goal is to have it somewhat staggered by minutes, not if anything significant. Meaning it's obviously having 3,000 kids leaving, assuming the entire high school went back this year, having 3,000 kids transferring at one time is somewhat problematic. But the goal is there'll be some organized paths that you can only go, let's say down Seahawk Way, you can only walk one way and you can come up another direction to minimize contact as best we can. But but ultimately there's no assuming that all of us are on campus, there's no logistical way to stagger enough because everybody has different classes in different buildings and what have you.
Okay, so assuming that we get that green light from LA and the state to reopen, like what would be the time? How long would it take from when we're given permission to when we'd actually be back?
We have kind of some I'll call it target dates. I mean, realistically, we believe we're ready to open within 2 weeks of the green light. But we're going to try to use some strategic dates. So, for example, and again, I'm giving you my opinion, not the state's opinion, because right now everything's surging and the state's not giving any guidelines of any return. I mean, the discussion right now, like fall sports, is probably not going to happen. It's not official yet, but it's probably not going to happen just based on where we are in the numbers. Spring sports will probably happen, but it will only be certain outdoor sports, golf, that type of thing, and the least contact sports. But that could change again the more we have the vaccine out. But to answer your question, I think strategically and ideally, in my mind, if you guys were to return, it would be right after spring break. I think there'll be enough time broken out there. If the vaccine rolls out faster, it could be in March. And again, this is my opinion. I would, to me, as soon as we know that there's an opportunity to do so, then there will be much more. We will have it prepared to do it as quickly as possible. But I think realistically, parents and you guys need at least a 2-week window to be prepped.
All right, and then last question for now. As a rough percentage, do you have any estimate as to how many students will be allowed in a classroom compared to normal?
The goal based on the cohort set up and based on it is going to be a lot of it's going to be based on classroom size and our ability to space everybody at least 6 feet apart. Realistically, the classes that you're in right now, obviously, have a set number of students. So, we have to be able to accommodate with it. We have each of the classrooms marked out, laid out as far as how many kids. So, not to evade the question, but it's all really based on which room you're in. And gives us more opportunity to do so. But obviously, it's based on the class as well.
All right, thank you.
Of course.
All right. Moving on to our
Well, are there any more? Does anyone have? Oh yeah. Does
Oh,
anyone
I was
else?
gonna say moving on to our next commissioner.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
For the
Commissioner-
record, I'm sorry to interrupt. For the record, there are no public comments or no attendees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rosales.
All right, thank you. I just had a question as to why specifically K through 2 is going back and not other grades. Like, why not up to third or even fourth grade?
That's something that ultimately the county and the state have decided. But if you it just realistically, the concept is they are the most at risk, and most at risk meaning, if you take TK and K, they're learning how to read and write, and as you all know, with live instruction, as fabulous as your teachers can be, trying to read and write and learn your alphabet and stuff remotely is a lot harder. So those ages have been identified. Additionally, those ages have the least have a lower spread, if you will, or opportunity to spread COVID compared to, I'll call it, your age group. Your age group has more opportunity. Your group tends to be more social. So I think there's a lot of things that tend to fall into that. But if I was giving you a simplistic answer, it's they are the hardest to teach remotely online, and and a good starting point to bring everybody back.
Thank you. And then my second question was, if we were allowed to return to school, would it be required for every student to be vaccinated upon returning?
I don't believe so. But it's one of those things that's a moving target. I mean, if you look at the rules now, when you enter 7th grade, you used to be able to, for religious reasons or otherwise, not take certain shots. Now, if you want to come, you must take them. There's no option. There's discussion within the federal government and within state government that they're going to mandate it. But, if you were asking my personal opinion, I don't think so. And again, in your age group itself, the vaccine isn't deemed safe for, under 18 at the moment. So it would be something that ultimately would not be probably even offered to most of you initially. But the likelihood, I think it's going to come down the pipe that they're going to mandate it to do certain features and functions, like if you want to fly and what have you. But I think right now there's no ability for them to mandate it based purely on the fact that it's going to take 6 months to a year to get this thing completely rolled out to everybody. And so otherwise you would be, discriminating is the wrong word, but you would be holding back a certain group of people because they couldn't get access to the vaccine for whatever reason. So I don't think, at least for this year, it'll matter.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Yes. Commissioner Stover.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sirkin, for joining us this evening. I have a question on the staffing side. How closely are you working with the faculty, the teachers union specifically, to ensure that teachers are comfortable coming back to work and we don't have any kind of staffing shortage?
So, we've gone back to the, I'll give you the broader answer, which is we've gone back to the table 3 times this year, which normally, Mr. Gammett, as a former board member, can attest. You normally don't go back to the table multiple times. The goal has been with each time that we've gone back is to not only clarify, but to make sure that we are, that everybody's on board with where we're at. That being said, union representation represents the whole and doesn't always hear everyone's voice. So I don't want to speak for the whole, but I will say that, the agreement we have with our union at present is, and really related to TK through 2, but will be expanded as we continue to open, if we're able to, is, when we come back for those grade levels, the teachers will be teaching both online as well as in class, or will be made available so the kids will continue. Those who are not comfortable coming to class can continue to receive live instruction from their teacher. We're the only district in the South Bay that has that agreement. The board was given full authority to make the decision as to when kids come back to school with the caveat that the county or state can usurp us. But it isn't up to the teachers union to make the decision as to when to go back. It's up to us as a board. So if tomorrow the county gave us permission to return, it would be up to us to do so. Earlier at this point, the teachers would have the opportunity to take a leave. But it is my gut feeling that once the vaccine is available for most, the staffing shortage will probably not come to fruition. We've also, for our teachers who've been here a long time, have given early retirement options, or at least it's been put on the table. We publicly discussed it, so it's not something secret, but it gives certain teachers opportunities should they just feel like they're not going to be comfortable coming back to school, which gives us other opportunities. We have a lot of part-time teachers right now that want full-time positions. So, could that cause a transition of your teacher at some point? It could. I don't think it's going to happen. And again, I'm pontificating on the concept of coming back. If I could have open schools tomorrow, I would, but legally and safely. But we don't have that authority. It's the first time in almost 8 years on the board that we don't have as local decision making as much as we used to. But we will only bring everybody back as it is as safely as possible. But we also we recognize no matter what we do, someone will get COVID, whether they brought it into campus or whether it was transmitted between. It's going to happen. There's just no way to avoid that completely, short of us all staying at home full time.
Commissioner Ganis.
Yes, thank you. So I believe I know we used to have some sort of tentative protocol in place, but I want to see if it's changed. Like you previously mentioned, if we were to return to school and someone were to get infected with coronavirus, is there a certain protocol or procedure we'd follow in response to that?
Yes. So part of the challenge of coming back, and I'm going to answer it a little bit more broadly, but I'll get to your specific question. Part of the challenge, one of our neighboring districts opened up on Monday. Monday afternoon, they closed that classroom because there was a case of coronavirus found in that class. And as a result of that, the class is now that individual class is now quarantined for 14 days. And so the broad protocol is if there's three cases on campus, the campus gets closed. If there's, I think it's 7 or 8 total within the district, then the district closes for 14 days and goes back to online only. So if you imagine the differential at the high school with 3 cases with 3,000 kids, or 3 cases at Toledo with under 500 kids, I mean, the variable is pretty wide. Now, if we can isolate within the high school, and I'm being hypothetical, so like if you're on the golf team, and the golf team itself, they find a case and they haven't associated with anyone else on campus, they haven't been in any other classrooms, we won't have to close the entire campus because there are multiple cases within there. But the protocols are set by the county and are specific to it. And so if at the elementary level, we have a little bit more flexibility unless it's a majority of them, because they're all in one class all day long. So you can isolate it to that one class. At the high school, we don't have that flexibility because you've intermingled with 2 other classes during the day, or if it's, Monday would be online anyways, but if you were at 3 classes, so you potentially exposed 100 kids to it. But since you'll all be required to wear masks, keep 6 feet apart, that'll help minimize a lot of it.
Thank you. And you have, you recently answered a question kind of assuming all students would be on campus at once. Is that the case, or do we plan to stagger it depending on last name or some other basis like that?
I think the goal is for us the goal will be to get everyone back on campus, within your structured classes. Because if you can think about it logistically, if you have second period, I'm just going to pick on it, chemistry, for the teacher to have to teach second period, in essence twice a day, and then fourth period twice a day, and sixth period, it's not logistical. So the idea would be is that you would return in your capacity with there. That being said, we have many contingent plans, but the county could change a lot of that very quickly too and say, this is what we're going to allow you to do. In which case, half of you would be at home, half of you would be on campus, and then return in different capacities. So we have different contingency plans, and it may come down to it'll be half and half, but a lot of this is a moving target right now. We have literally 3 or 4 contingency plans for every for the high school, for the middle school, for elementary school. We have different setups, and I imagine we will be having many conversations if we're fortunate enough to get beyond 5th grade this year.
Thank you.
Commissioner Oplatka.
Thank you, Mr. Sirkin, for being here tonight. I have a few questions. For science classes, I know labs are very important and that we haven't been able to do them this year. Is it possible for students in a lab science class to get waivers specifically to come onto campus and do those labs?
At present, no, unfortunately not. I mean, we're having discussions right now, even with PSAT and being able to have, kids coming on campus to do PSAT and SATs. But just based on based on where things are at right now, the current answer is no. But literally that can change in 2 weeks. I mean, it's as this progresses. I mean, the good news was today, that the number of cases the moving average came down. So they're waiting it out right now to see if Christmas and New Year's really did some kind of significant, I don't like the word surge, but another surge of cases. So assuming that it doesn't, that bodes well for us to be able to start, moving up tiers and starting to do things. But just as you're not able to go and eat at a restaurant outdoors, having you indoors on a campus at this point for doing labs is not something that we have the authority to do. And same thing goes for those of you that are in sports. No, you can only condition training right now. You can't have any contact or any kind of work around that got changed. I mean, and that's been changed as of the last few weeks. So the hope is to do so. And I know some of the teachers are coming up with some creative ways to have labs done at home, but obviously we know and we acknowledge it's not the same. And, I have a freshman in high school who hasn't even seen campus yet. So it's like, so for all of you in different capacities, whether you're a freshman to senior, everybody has a different experience. And, my oldest graduated last year from Redondo, and as you know, there was no graduations, there was no anything. Mr. Gammon had the same thing. It's just, it's trying to make the best of a not ideal situation. And so, but the great news is there's a lot of accommodations being made, both academically and otherwise. I know it's it doesn't give you the full experience, but there is recognition also ultimately in your grades and otherwise that there are, that we all are making accommodations to some extent. So
this is more like a follow-up question on, I think, 2 questions addressed between Vice Chair Lee and Commissioner Ganis. Are we, what's the exact plan of when we're saying we're comfortable to reopen Redondo Union High School? Is it once we get the green light from the county and the state, or are we also saying Redondo as a city has to have a certain number of low cases, or does the staff need to all be vaccinated? Are there any additional requirements that the district has set besides getting the green light from the county and the state?
So, I mean, the board ultimately makes the decision when that happens, assuming the county or the state gives us the green light. Ultimately, our cases in Redondo proportionately are significantly lower as a county. It's partly unfortunate, in my opinion, not speaking as a board member, but as in my opinion, that we are lumped into Palmdale, we are lumped into downtown, we're lumped into all these different parts of LA County because the case rates in each of these individual regions, and I'll call it the South Bay, is much different than it is downtown. It's much different than it is in other areas. And so, it's my personal hope, and we keep lobbying to try to get the South Bay treated as a sub county, if you will, to allow it to do so. Our hospitals our hospitals are not nearly as impacted as other areas, with the exception of our hospitals are now taking the overflow patients from other areas. So our hospitals are still full, but every area is doing different things to manage it. So once we get past this, and I again use that word surge, but once we get past this next 2 or 3 weeks and things start leveling off, I think we probably will. I'm hoping that we'll be able to have some opportunity to look at maybe regionalizing things a little bit, to allowing us to maybe return to it. But the goal would be, unless South Bay was completely out of whack compared to the rest of LA County, I would argue we would probably be one of the first to open and return as a county once that comes down. I don't think there's. The board is changing over in April. I term out in April, so I can't run again, and there's 2 others that do. So I can't speak for the future board, but if we're on the timeline that I'm hoping we're going to be on, that we as this existing board have the authority to bring school back if the county gives us that flexibility. And again, it's only January 7th. So much can happen between now and February, early March. So everything I'm telling you now is some of it's based on my opinion, but a lot of it's based on, we just don't know. We were one of the best states in April and May, and we're one of the worst states now in January. But if you look at New York as an example, New York turned it around to some extent. After significant loss of life, but they turned it around, and they've gone into hiatus with schools for right now, but they were able to return in person. And even England, who was, they were open, has turned it around, and now they've closed schools temporarily. So the point is that it's a moving target, but our goal is, and I see it in all your faces. I know, sitting at home on a computer is not where you want to be, and to the extent that we can open, I promise you, it is this board's goal and this administration's goal to get you guys back to the class as soon as we can.
All right, thank you so much.
Vice Chair Lee.
A couple follow-ups to other people's answers. You said that we're hoping that maybe the South Bay would be classified as a sub-county. Is there any progress towards, has our district tried to collaborate with other districts to try to request from the governor from the county that we be given that permission?
So it's been a constant lobby for months. I'd love to say we've made significant progress, but I'd be lying to you. But you also have to reflect on the fact that ultimately the numbers keep getting worse and they're not getting better in the county. So our argument to subdivide right now is on deaf ears, because to an extent, everyone's reaching for straws to figure out how to slow this thing down. And so giving opportunity for everything to open and for us to just, carte blanche say, well, the South Bay is doing okay. The argument is still that teachers, staff, and otherwise come into the South Bay from other areas, so they could raise the numbers just as quickly as we are keeping them low. But there's many different answers to it. But I would tell you, I believe that there is a will to look at it, but we have to get our county numbers, or at least our hospitalizations down below 5 and 10%. Where we have 10% capacity before we could realistically have any meaningful conversation about that.
Saying that our cases do start going down, would the governor or county likely even consider the proposition of doing that, of subdividing LA to South Bay?
The answer is I don't know. I'm on calls with the, Barbara Ferrer, the LA County Public Department of Health. We've been on with LACO. We've been on with different folks, multiple times a week. And the one answer we get is everybody wants you, the students, back in school. And, and to the capacity that we can figure out how to do that safely. I'll be frank in saying when this started in March, most of you were either in, just almost freshmen, or you were already in high school. I apologize. I don't know what grade levels it is. I'm assuming you're all at least ninth or above. But, we were all told we were going to have 3 weeks of break. We were going to come back from spring break and this was all over. Then turned out to be, well, it's another week to, hey guys, I mean, we literally planned graduation, the drive-through graduation in 3 days. It was just one of those, because we were holding out hope that this thing would go far enough to get to do an in-person graduation. I mean, we submitted proposals to use all the fields and separate it out so everyone was 6 feet apart. But realistically, even if we could have gotten that approved, it wouldn't have looked well if we in Redondo did that and no one else could have an in-person graduation. I mean, so it's one of those things that my point being is there's an optics piece of it, both from a holistic perspective of, well, we can't just give Redondo, Manhattan, PV, access to come and Torrance to reopen and not give it to others. So there's a little bit of that, but we have a much stronger union relationship than other districts do, and so I think there's opportunity to consider it. There's opportunity for us as a county to have the discussion, and at some point you can't keep saying no. You've got to eventually recognize it's time to, it's time to move forward. So I don't want to leave you all with false promises and hope of what have you. I just want to I want you to understand what we're fighting for and what we're doing behind the scenes to do so. But, recognize, our hands are still tied, but our goal is to get you the best high school experience we can as quickly as possible. But everything I'm telling you is goals and objectives, and it's all variable based on where everything's at. So.
All right. So have the county officials like Dr. Ferrer given any indication of if they would even consider letting us back, like as a South Bay? Have they given any indication of how they might answer when cases start going down?
Their answer is this isn't the time to have conversations about it. Meaning, publicly they will definitely not take a position. Privately, they are like, we've got to get these numbers under control before we can have that conversation. Then it has to be kicked up to the governor, because the governor has to agree to allow the counties to in essence segregate. I mean, we're the largest county in California, and so. Whereas we've watched Orange County open, we've watched San Diego open, it's, to me, it doesn't make sense that we keep penalizing our county. And so I think there's opportunity to have it, but it's hard to have that. It's hard to have that discussion and say, hey, we want this. But by the way, we have no capacity in the hospitals. So, it's one of those, it's just progressively gotten harder. But where I believe we have hope as well is we still managed, even though the numbers were getting higher, we still got our waiver to open TK through 2, and we still have we could tomorrow have kids on campus ready to go, but we as a board decided to wait 2 weeks, more so to be respectful of the community and reflect on the fact that if we were a cause of a surge, if you will, we don't want to be that cause. Come 2 weeks from now, if the surge is still continuing and going, there's, at some point we're going to have to draw the line. And again, it's up to the board members. I'm not speaking for them. I'm speaking for myself, but we wanted to give the opportunity in case there was a surge upon surge to come in to not contribute to it. But we do believe we can come back safely. We do believe we can get staff safely done. The cases that have shown up on campuses have all been singular cases. They haven't been a case of, well, Anthony had it, he gave it to Tyler or whatever, because they were together. It's been single isolated cases that we've ultimately separated. And because of that, we believe we can still do that, then do it right.
All right, and if everyone just bear with me, I just have 3 more questions. This is about AP testing. So today I just received an email from the school that our PSAT is planning on being in person in January. So does that mean that May comes around, right? We're still online and we haven't been back in person, is there a way that we would have AP testing on the real paper tests in person at Redondo?
So the answer is it depends on the AP testing board right now. I mean, and the answer is, you know, if we can't, me personally, I see if we're gonna hold the PSAT, I don't see a reason we can't hold the AP testing on campus. That's my personal opinion. And you know, it's kind of one of those things that, you know, we keep telling everybody, you know, our CDC teachers are on campus. You know, we've got special ed on campus. In my opinion, there's no reason you shouldn't come back. However, just kind of like CIF with sports, they dictate whether or not we're going to have fall sports play out in a shortened season. Whether I feel you could come back and play football safely, if you're the only team playing and you're just playing each other, that's not a sport. So so the concept, the same thing goes with the AP. The AP testing may say, because of issues in certain parts of the place, including LA County, we're not allowing in person, or they've developed it online, or they've developed some other piece. We don't know. They have a contingency plan. They have a plan to do it in person. So I think the answer is premature. You know, you're welcome to have your parents reach out to me. I mean, obviously we know each other, but you're welcome to have your parents reach out. I mean, if I know more information, or if I do, I'm happy to come back to hear and share what I know as we get closer. But right now, no one's committing to anything right now.
Is saying does Redondo campuses, or does the Redondo Union campus have the space to physically distance everyone for the AP testing if we do have it in person?
I believe the answer is yes.
Okay.
We have a significant amount of people that take AP classes, but I think if we did it, I mean, it would have to be more methodical in the sense of, instead of everyone taking it right then, maybe it's back to back, or, you know, we obviously have large gyms. We have places to do it. I mean, you know, I could see scenarios we could erect a tent if that was really the goal. We could find ways to do it if we needed to, but you know, but I don't want to get ahead of things and start promising things without even knowing what AP's goal is.
All right, and then last one, College Board just announced that they're going to have 3 different windows for testing, for like one in early May, one in late May, one in early June. Is there any indication which one Redondo is going to get, or will that depend on future events?
I would love to say I know the answer to it, but I don't. I mean, I know that the district office is working on all that stuff, and I know they have a timeline for it. But as far as which one they're specifically focused on, I don't know the answer to it, honestly.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Corey?
Do any other commissioners want to ask questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Serkin. This has been very enlightening. Thank you for taking your time to answer our questions.
Of course. You guys have a great evening.
Thank you. You as well.
See you, Brad.
Take it easy.
Member items and referrals to staff. Are there any member items and referrals to staff? Seeing none, moving on. Adjournment. The next meeting of the Redondo Beach Youth Commission will be a regular meeting to be held at 6:30 p.m. on March 4th, 2021 in the Redondo Beach Council Chambers at 415 Diamond Street, Redondo Beach, California via teleconference. I don't have a gavel, so I'll use a pen.
You need a motion. Okay,
oh, motion. Motion to adjourn.
No, you can't make the motion. Someone else needs to make the motion.
Oh. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Rosales.
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Lee. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Meeting adjourned. All right, thank you guys
so it's
for
just a
showing
pen.
up. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you so much, guys, for showing up. And hope you guys all stay safe and healthy. And I look forward to seeing you guys in person one day, I hope, soon. But in the meantime, stay safe and healthy and just, keep on trucking. Keep it going.